Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, my people. What's up? Hope and trust that everyone had a good night's rest and that you would have woken safe from the overnight rest that you would have gotten. Today is Tuesday the 20th of January, 2026, and the time right now is 5:38 a.m. Yes, and this is an early one because I'm having a full day today. I have a funeral to go to. I have to go to court. So starting today, my day early today. Whenever I wake up from my night rest, I would normally check my phone because you never know what might have happened while you were resting. Somebody might have had an emergency, you get a call, check your voicemail and all that kind of stuff to make sure that all is well. So that's what I would normally do when I wake up. I would then normally check on my security setup, look around on the camera, see what's happening, check on certain other protocols I have as it pertains to my protection. So I would check on that. I would then have a reasoning with my God through prayer. That's very, very, very important to me. And having said my prayer, I would then either just lay in bed, maybe go back to sleep, or depending on what is happening, um, maybe listen to a little gospel music, you know, as I would begin to prepare myself mentally for the day. This morning, however, when I woke up, I got up at around 4:30. I think that's the time I saw on my phone or on the security system, and I looked at it. It was around 4:30. And I would have gone through my routine, as I said earlier, and I decided I was going to listen back to my friend day night program from last night. I said I was going to listen back to that. Having prayed and everything, so it started to rain at the time. So I said, you know what, Dave, you're gonna have a long day today, so start it early. Go back to sleep. So I decided I was going to check on the program. I was listening to it before I went to bed. I fell off asleep. So I decided I would listen to the and then, just go through the recording and see what was what. And in doing that, I heard a conversation between Dane and an individual close to the end of his program. And that conversation knocked out any sleep that I would have had left in my eyes, right? That conversation knocked out any sleep. To be honest with you, I was thinking to myself as I was listening, I was thinking to myself that Dane was wasting his time with that conversation. And I was just saying to myself, Dane, just move on, man. But when the individual said to Dane, you want to cut me off? Words to that effect. And Dane said, no, no, man, have your say. But you have your platform, words to that effect. I said to myself that I must publicly give Dane his kudos. Um, I'm gonna call him in a few hours' time when I believe he's up, and I will say to him what I'm saying now. But I felt it important to give him his kudos publicly. I was a host on Point FM some years ago. And during my time at Point FM, the referendum that was, the people was to decide on whether we wanted to replace the Privy Council with the CCJ as our final appellate court, that came up. My position then, as it is now, is that we are not ready to replace the Privy Council as our final court of appeal. And I made that position public. I don't care the cutie Benjamins of this world who talk about independence and all kind of trippiness, in my opinion. What I care about is justice. And I believe up to now, we stand a chance to get the best justice, especially social justice, from the Privy Council. But that's a decision for another recording because I heard committees being put in place, etc., etc. So we will see where that goes because there's certain things happening behind the scenes. We'll take it from there. Now, the government held the opposite view that I held, right? And as we all know, Point FM is aligned to the government, the ALP government. So I had an internal issue to deal with. Again, I was for the retainment or retaining of the Privy Council while the government wanted to go to the CCJ. And here I was working on a radio station aligned to the government. So I took the position that I was not going to push my agenda on my show. I took that position. If persons came on the program with a position different to my position, I would let them have their say. But I was only going to put forth my point or my position if I were asked to. I can remember one of the first interviews I did for a panel who was in favor of the CCJ. What's his name again now? Oh Lord, he ran down City West. Um, Henry Simon. Henry Simon was one of three persons who came. And I hosted the program. I let them have this say. I didn't get involved in it. If somebody called in and asked my opinion, I gave my opinion. And that's the position I decided I was going to take, you know? I took the position that if people call in and they're in favor of the Privy Council, retaining the Privy Council, I let them have their say also. Just as how I let somebody who called in who was in favor of switching to the CCJ have their say. So that's the position that I took. I decided to myself that I was going to take. At the time, I was involved in an organization that was rallying against the CCJ becoming the final court of appeal, and I never ever even invited them onto my show because I didn't within myself want to get into that to deal with that on Point FM. As a matter of fact, in that committee, I was the one responsible for setting up interviews at the different radio stations. And here it is, I had a show on Point FM, and I never even invited them to the show. Well, the position that I took, that is where I stood and allowing people to, if they call in on the program, that they would have their say if they're in favor of the retaining the Privy Council. That position was not accepted by senior people at the radio station, right? Because they took the position that the radio station belonged to a certain individual. And the reason why I'm not calling any name, I know the gymnastics where they say it's not the individual is the founder, but the board run that or blah 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 blah. So let me stay away from the name. But these senior persons' positions were the radio station belonged to a particular individual, and the position of the person was to move to the CCJ as a final court of appeal. And I was on that person radio station, so I should be pushing that position. Well, for people who know me, you would know that if you want to get me to do something, just tell me that I can't do it, or that I have to do it, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. You know what I mean? If for the persons who know me, they know that gets me going, right? You can't tell me I don't have a choice. No, no. Well, you can tell me that, but you can't push me down the road. You're gonna see a different Dave. You're gonna see a different Dave. But persons who are close to me know that. I remember one time after completing a show, and I came out of the building, I observed the then chairman of the board, Luther Lee. I'm not sure if he's still the chairman now, and a particular national icon, a sir, as a matter of fact, is Sir McLean. They were sitting in a vehicle owned by Sir McLean. Well, I don't know if he owned the vehicle. He was certainly driving it. He was sitting in the driver's side. Ruth was sitting on the passenger side. And as I passed the vehicle, I said hello, I went about my business. And another colleague of mine, another host of a show, told me that he was around the vehicle, probably might have been interacting with him. And they had the world to say about me because of the position that I would have taken. You know, didn't really matter to me. I don't live by people, so I'm be good. But I'm just trying to show you how it was. So when I heard the conversation between Mr. Knight and the individual, and I heard the individual say, "You want to cut me off?" Or, words to that effect. And I thought to myself, this individual would have been cut off if there was a similar type situation on Point FM, the radio station that is aligned to the party that this individual support. I said to myself, when I think about that and I know to myself that he would have been cut off, I said to myself, boy, I have to give Dane his public kudos. Big up yourself, King. Boy, I have a 3 picture myself up here, then I use. That's what I saw on the net. This was when you're getting the big check from the Labour Party politician, but then cut you out for this one. But big up yourself, King. I said I had to give Dane his public kudos. As a matter of fact, the individual that was having that exchange with Knight and wondering if he was going to be cut off and that kind of stuff, that individual called into Point FM maybe about a month to 2 months ago. And he was making a statement about corruption within our police force. And the individual pointing to facts pertaining to officers in our force or former officers in our force who was caught up in matters dealt with by the court and they were found guilty. Right? And he was saying his piece. And you know what? Let me go to a readout of the recording that I have. Let me go to a readout of the recording that I have. This is the Prime Minister saying to the individual, "So I don't share your level of pessimism. I will accept that from time to time, the police force ends up with some rotten elements. That is not exclusive to the Antiguan and Barbudan police force. It happens all over the world. It happens in all institutions. But for you to paint the police with a broad brush and to say," and at that point, the Prime Minister was interrupted by the person who was hosting the show. And the person said, "Excuse me, sir, but I am in control of this show this afternoon. I'm not going to sit down and have anybody broad brush or police station like that and throw them out into the world. I exited the room and I'm controlling this show here today. Next caller, please." And she called on the technician and the person was cut off. That's on the radio station that's on the radio station aligned to the political party that the person identified with. But they were talking about Dane and the possibility of cutting off on Dane's program. But that is what happened on their party-aligned radio station. Right? Now, this led to the individual doing a live on Facebook. Somebody sent me a copy of the recording also. And I'm told that the individual is now being sued by the person. I was going to say the person who cut him off, but it might have been the technician who cut him off, but no. By the person who was hosting the show, who instructed the technician to cut him off. Right? I'm told that the person is being sued by that filling host at the time for some things he would have said on his live. Of course, I'm not going to repeat those things, but time will tell us the outcome of that. Time will tell us the outcome of that. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I am told that, well, I'm told of the lawyer who is supposedly representing the person. Oh boy, I'll just leave that right there. I'll just leave that right there. But then, I want you to big up yourself. Big up yourself, King. You kind of remind me of myself in some regards, you know. You're not really as sexy as I am. You know, but one thing is for sure, you have courage. And you can exhibit that courage publicly. That many, many, many people in the society can only talk about or think about it behind closed doors. They don't dare. They don't even come close to having the strength to say what they're thinking about certain individuals publicly. They have to go along to get along. You know, that's my thinking. And I must big you up, King. I must big you up. I really, really, really must big you up. Continue to do what you do. I know you. I know you're good enough. Um, I wouldn't say certain other things, but I know you're good enough to know what you're made of. What you're made of. But I felt it important to say what I'm saying publicly. To say what I'm saying publicly. For what you do. I know you're suing one of them from up way east in the St. Philip's North constituency, I think it is. You're not telling me nothing about it. I found out by the wayside, but I'm following it because when I get the money, I want two cooks out of it. You know what I mean? But continue doing what you're doing, King. Continue doing what you're doing because you're saying publicly what a lot of them is saying privately. And the Lord has blessed you that you don't have to beg nobody, politician included, to go about doing what you're doing. So you don't have that pressure, as some of them seemingly have, to just eat shit and then somebody tell them it's chocolate. Big up yourself, King, and have a good day, everybody. Keep safe until we come together again. Bless up.